Westminster can feel an awfully long way from the world most people live in, not least on a day like today, the day Her Majesty travelled to Parliament to read out the government's to-do list for the year ahead. As ever, she did it with an awful lot of style. But her 60th Queen's speech had one important difference, the presence of 2 extra thrones for Prince Charles and Camilla, a signal to the country perhaps that she's preparing to share her responsibilities. Behind the ancient ceremony there always lies an important story, as when the Queen sends Black Rod to summon MPs to hear her speech. This a symbol for centuries that the people's representatives don't take their orders from the monarch. Almost as ancient a tradition, the Dennis Skinner heckle.
Royal Mail for sale, Queen's Head privatised.
It's a day when political enemies can chat like friends about their children and how to stop them accessing their computers. Waiting for them inside the House of Lords, archbishops and authors, TV presenters and internet entrepreneurs. Oh, and politicians, of course. All dressed for the day in ermine, all there to hear the agenda of new laws which the government will present to Parliament in the year ahead.
My government's legislative programme will continue to focus on building a stronger economy so that the United Kingdom can compete and succeed in the world.
There'll be plenty more for them and others to argue about, with legislation on deregulation to cut employers' national insurance bills and to allow the building of high-speed rail lines. But this was the pledge Number 10 really wanted to highlight.
My government will bring forward a bill that further reforms Britain's immigration system. The bill will ensure that this country attracts people who will contribute and deters those who will not.
In particular, the government is promising to regulate migrant access to the NHS, force landlords to check the immigration status of their tenants, and to change the law to allow foreign criminals to be deported more easily. The Home Secretary knows that all that will be tested in the courts and when Romanians and Bulgarians can travel here more freely from next January. Amongst other measures, a law to introduce a new flat-rate pension, a care bill to cap the costs of social care in England, and legislation to tackle antisocial behaviour, from dangerous dogs even to forced marriage.
We are standing up for hard-working people. This is a Queen's speech that will back aspiration and those who want to get on. This is a Queen's speech that will make our country competitive once again. This is a Queen's speech that will cut our deficit, grow our economy, deliver a better future for our children and help us to win the global race. And I commend it to the House.
Normal political business had resumed. The Labour leader said it was a speech with no answers from an out-of-touch government.
It should have contained action to get our young people working again, action for real banking reform, action to get growth moving, and action to genuinely confront the cost of living crisis, but it fails on all those counts.
Labour aren't opposing the immigration measures, but Ed Miliband mocked the Tories for trying to catch up with UKIP.
The lesson for the Prime Minister is you can't out-Farage Farage. Banging on about Europe won't convince the public, and the people behind him will keep coming back for more.
With the party over, the political reckoning has only just begun.
Everybody out there is really worried about the economy, they're worried about jobs, they're worried about the pound in their pocket, and I'm not sure I heard anything in the Queen's speech that is going to improve what is a really dire circumstance in the UK. So I think, just like everybody else, I think it's a disappointing Queen's speech.
The residents of Royal Street in South London can see Parliament from their flats. Today, in theory, was about people like them. The promises have been issued, the sound bites rehearsed, the carriages and the tiaras are back in storage. The real test, of course, of the Queen's speech is out here in the real world. Nick Robinson, BBC News, just over the river from Westminster.